following Nathan's suggestion of a group to continue studying, the feasibility and addressing some of the questions that we're
Well,
raising.
I think we should hold off. We
Yeah.
need to write a reasonable charge for them, and we
Yeah.
don't know what we want them to do yet. So
Okay.
when we
Yeah.
get that, we've got to get that figured out, and so I would say let's hold it off at least for another meeting or two.
And there's some other information that we want to get from town council about
Right.
gifts, for
Yeah.
instance,
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that before we move
Okay.
forward.
Yeah, and who exactly should be on this committee?
Yeah,
I mean, do we want to have a representative? Obviously, Council on Aging and RecCom, obviously they'll have a big say.
If the working group is dealing with monies.
yeah.
Or somebody rich.
Somebody rich.
Right, somebody with naming rights.
Well, that could come, absolutely.
Okay,
Well, thank
Okay.
you for all of that
Yes,
great job,
work.
Jerry.
It's,
thank you. No,
Done well.
it did bring it to life for me.
but I do just want to say one last time that I think we need to have this be considered within the whole framework of what we want Carlisle to be, in the next 10 to 15 years, so that, so that we have as much agreement about that larger roadmap, and then see how this would fit into that. Yeah,
It's not a project that should be done in a vacuum.
yeah.
Okay. So I see Wayne is here. Are you here for our discussion of the warrant articles, or are you just?
Probably don't need me at the table for that, but
Okay, well,
I was more, so I'll listen to that, but,
Can't hear anything? Oh, you can't hear him.
okay, so nobody just heard, the TV couldn't hear you, so why don't you pull up a chair anyway, and you can jump in if you have to. Yeah. Okay, so we're at our
Are we gonna do
8:15.
the fall town meeting first and then do the police station?
Well, we're talking about the warrant article summaries and,
Yeah,
yeah,
you gonna do the police station first, or the
the possible fall town meeting.
Because that's what Wayne had said he could.
Oh, no,
Oh.
no, I was just saying that I'd like to listen to the discussion on the warrant articles anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Just saying I didn't think I needed to be at the table for that.
okay.
Well, look
Well,
at you now.
Yeah,
Whatever.
look, yeah. The first discussion of an article we're gonna have, though, is of the municipal facility warrant article. And maybe Jerry wants to come forward for that as well.
Which is not on there yet, because it's kind of just.
It's not on,
just-
yes,
yeah,
it's not in the draft yet,
warrant.
because it just,
Yeah.
we haven't put it on there yet.
Yeah, okay.
It's a request, it's a new request, yeah. Yes.
The third rail.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jerry, you want to explain why the Municipal Facilities Committee is coming with this article at this point?
So the police station renovation project has gone through many iterations. And the cost estimates have ranged widely. But we're quite sure that it's going to be a number in excess of the 864,000 that was allocated in FY 19 or 20, whenever that happened. Updated bid documents have been prepared and they're going to go out for bids. And we won't have an accurate number until the bids are in, which will be the week before town meeting. So what I wanted to do was have a warrant article in place so that if the bids come in a range that makes it look feasible to do the project, we would be in a position to ask the town for the additional money. If the bids come in at $2 million, then we wouldn't move the warrant article because that's way out of reach. The our best guess at them. We have a professional estimator looking at the bid documents and will come in with a cost estimate. It's not, it's an estimate based on the estimator's experience, and how accurate it will be is hard to tell depending on the environment that contractors are working in when they respond to the bids. But we should have that within the next week or two, and that would give a realistic number that would get plugged into that warrant article.
Instead of the 700,000 that
Yes,
you
that was,
suggested here.
I put that number in just to show that it was a number that's more than $5,000, but less than $1 million.
It was the size of the bread box type
Yeah.
of thing. So, but therefore the total cost would be about 1.6 million.
Well, we've had numbers ranging from 1.3 to 1.6. Now, I also should point out, the scope of the project has been reduced somewhat, and even with that in mind, the price has still not come down.
So at 1.6 million, it's a reduced over what we thought we were gonna get for the 865,000.
Now, and there's another component to this. In the municipal facilities warrant article, that is our yearly one, there is $247,000 for the police station that involves problems that were uncovered when we started looking at the building in order to do the bid documents. The fact that there's wiring in the plenum and the ceiling that doesn't meet code, and that open plenum has to be replaced with ductworks in order to satisfy current code. There's issue with the HVAC system that has never really worked properly. And all of that, we've kind of taken out, because if the renovation doesn't happen, those are problems we need to fix.
Are they included though in the 1.6 million?
Yes, they are. So the number that we would ask for in that warrant article would be the 864 subtracted from the actual price and subtracting out the 247 that we've accounted for in the regular warrant article.
It's not really giving money back, it's just shifting it.
Yeah.
But the thing to keep in mind, if we don't do the renovation, those are repairs that we need to do at the police station anyway.
And it might be necessary repairs to get us through 5 or 10 years while we
Yes.
figure something else
Yes.
out. That might be a better investment than,
Well, and
1.6
we just
million.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
that happened regardless.
yes, totally get
And
that.
that's already in a different warrant article.
Yes.
It is.
But presumably would be moved after this was, so that we wouldn't do it if we didn't need to?
We should do the regular one and then the police station one.
Okay. So the police station one would then be I realize that 700,000 just a number, but let's just say that that's the right number.
Yeah.
It would be 1.6 minus the 250,000.
Yes.
Okay.
And minus the already allocated 864.
Right.
Right.
So at last town meeting, yeah, it was presented that, that number that you came with was the bare minimum that you needed in order to make the building safe and bring it up to code and to do all of that stuff. And now you're saying that the scope has been reduced. So is this the bare minimum? I mean, like, what, if last year it was sold to town meeting that this is the least amount that we have to do in order to bring it into compliance, and now the scope is reduced to reduce the cost. What are you cutting that couldn't have been cut the last time? I guess that, because it's a question, somebody's gonna ask it.
Yeah, and the answer is, we're doing less and it's costing more because contractors are charging more to do
No,
work.
I understand that, but if you said you needed to do these 10 things at last town meeting, I forget what the list was, right? But these 10 things to make it compliant, and now you're reducing the scope, now you're doing presumably 7 of those 10, right? So was it and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but were you not really doing just enough to get to compliance? Or, do you know what I mean? Because if the scope is reduced, to reduce the cost, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, if somebody's gonna bring it up at town meeting, right? But if the cost was or if the scope was reduced to reduce the cost, but at the last town meeting, the scope was the bare minimum you could do in order to be in compliance. Is my question making sense?
Yeah.
So then what's being cut now
Well,
that really isn't?
Where won't we be compliant?
Exactly.
Well, there are several levels here, as I've come to understand. There are state requirements. There are, those are laws that we have to do. There are regulations, and there are guidelines. And if we don't do the state law required stuff is the bare minimum. There are the regulations provide another part of this has to do with liability issues, that if something happens at the police station and somebody gets hurt, and it turns out that we're not following some regulation, what is our liability? And the police chief has experienced situations where something like that has happened, and it's cost towns a lot of money. So we can do the bare minimum, just do what's necessary to follow state law, but that still leaves us open to exposure.
Oh, yeah, no, and I'm not saying that we should do the bare minimum. It's just if last town meeting it was.
And a more specific answer to your question maybe is, for instance, the garage
Yeah.
has been made smaller and not heated.
Mhm.
It would have been preferable to have it heated so that we could have had the gun cleaning out there, so that's not gonna happen, so the gun cleaning goes in. But you don't save all of that money because now you have to have a hood where you're doing the gun cleaning, so you don't,
Yeah,
okay.
right, but,
So it's things like that,
all right,
that, so yes, things have been maybe they weren't the bare minimum, but they were the minimum, now they're, squeaky.
I think what you should say is, there weren't that many things cut out.
Well, because we couldn't, there wasn't enough.
You know, you're
Yes.
correct, we came with the bare minimum subset, and then over the course of the year, we have chiseled away at the width of buildings and things like that. But in the grander scheme of things, we haven't cut out that much. We certainly have not cut out any functionality.
The main reality is that the cost of construction has gone up.
And there's $270,000 of these in-the-wall things that nobody saw.
oh, yeah, there's always gonna be that kind of stuff.
Well, that was, of course, the first, and that's not a small number. Compared to the 860 we were starting with, it's suddenly the first 250 are.
Oh, yeah, no,
And you
yeah,
haven't
I
even
mean,
started the project.
right,
That's where we're at.
And so if we were only to do the 250 or whatever.
Yeah.
You just said 270, I think, Steve. But whatever it is, to do the basic wiring, code work, HVAC, that really has to be done, to it's maybe basically a Band-Aid to get us through.
Yes, that would be a building that meets building code and provides safety and comfort, at least for the people that work there, but it doesn't address any of the issues having to do with police work.
Right. And so what happens in terms of the town's compliance with state law, for example, if we were to only do the Band-Aid
We're at
requirements?
risk of,
I don't, the answer
Where
is,
it's the liability is
I-
the concern, but we're not gonna
get shut down.
right, we're in compliance with the laws, but we may not be doing following all the
Yeah.
regulations and
We would
guidelines.
not be in compliance with all
and,
of
and
those.
if you're asking me what will happen, I don't know. I'm assuming it wouldn't be good.
But, like, for instance, is there some agency at the state level that is looking at this facility and saying, you need to do X, or,
Well, I know from talking with the chief that he has people from the state coming through and inspecting. And he had somebody from the Youth Services Division looking at the station to see if it complies with guidelines for handling youthful offenders. And it doesn't. And one of the things that we're addressing in the renovation is making it meet those guidelines. Now, if he gets written up and it says you're not meeting the guidelines, what happens? And I don't know.
But what happens is if there were to be an incident, we are more liable than if we were meeting the
Right?
guidelines.
If somebody can make the case that we knew there was a problem and didn't do something to address it, that makes us negligent.
yeah.
Is there a downside to putting a placeholder on in the warrant?
It doesn't have to be moved, at least we would have
Right.
more information at the time.
Yes.
And the thing is, the Municipal Facilities Committee cannot make the decision. It's not in the right place to make this decision. It is this board and the town meeting who has to make the decision about how to go forward with the building.
Well,
And they can't do that if it's not on the warrant.
they also can't do it in the absence of facts.
Well,
Right.
So that's gonna have to be addressed.
So
Yeah.
I just want to point out that last year town meeting, we put it on as a placeholder. We voted against it, but we learned that it was going to be moved anyway. And we didn't want the chief to be kind of left hanging, and so we felt we had to support it. So I just want to point that out, because that's the path we went down last time, and it ended up that, we ended up moving it ourselves.
I would support putting a placeholder in, just in case.
And
We can always pull it out.
I'm certainly willing to revisit it with the board as we get closer to town meeting.
I think we need to be flexible about it, and put it on as a placeholder as well.
Meaning that we may pull it out on the 10th before it gets printed, or meaning that it's on the warrant?
We probably
Like-
don't have any additional information by the
I,
10th.
we
Right.
won't have,
There's a small chance we'll have the estimators report by then, but I'm not certain.
I would personally like to see us taking a longer view, and I think this is what I was saying last year when I was voting against it. But then I changed my mind when, the same way we all did, right? I mean,
Well-
we were all in the same situation, I think. But, we don't know if the 1.6 number is the right number. But we just saw community center numbers that were like $10 million. Like, so what would it cost us to build a combined fire, police, and maybe DPW? We're putting a lot of money into DPW. We're putting a lot of money into the police station. We're gonna have to do something about the space issues and accommodations at the fire station. It's going to add up. And, at some point, when are we gonna kind of take our fingers out of the dam, or put concrete in the dam? Because I think we don't want to take our fingers out of the dam. At what point are we going to just kind of bite that bullet? Because we're going to
Exactly.
have to bite that bullet at some point in time. And so I kind of feel like whatever we decide here, which I think we should decide not to, I think we need to get some people together to start finding a site and pricing out what it would cost for us to do this, rather than saying it's a lot of money and there's no spot for it. It's just, where could, is that at all feasible? What are we thinking about there? Because it's gonna happen anyway. And we're just, even at $1.6 million, the site isn't changing, the building isn't changing.
Right.
So it's still only maybe a 10-year solution,
Probably less.
a 5-year solution. So
Yeah.
$1.5 million for a 5-year solution.
Well,
And it's gonna
but
take
the
us-
other thing to keep in mind is that the the over the horizon time for a new combined building is probably 5 years or more.
Right. I get that, but I don't think we can do both, right? I mean, I think we absolutely need to deal with HVAC and all that. You know, we need everybody to be comfortable and safe in the building for environmental controls. Are there like really, really, really small things we can do to improve the safety? And understanding from the chief, like what really happens, right? If something happens. And therefore, how much time can we buy ourselves short of $1.6 million plus, you know, or whatever the number really is? 'Cause I don't want that number to get out there. As Jerry said, it's
Yes,
gonna cost this much money.
Right, right.
That was a bread box, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely what the Municipal Facilities Committee has been struggling with and why they're sitting here talking to us tonight, because they can't make that decision. It's not their decision
Well,
to
they can
make.
make a recommendation.
Well, they can make a recommendation, but
And we are,
basically,
that's why we're here.
that's, yeah,
So you're recommending $1.6 million for a 5-year solution?
First of all, it's not a 5-year solution, it's a 10-year solution.
Yeah.
In fact, it could actually, all things considered, go beyond 10 years. The architects are saying it's a 10-year solution. So,
Okay.
I'm not arguing against the alternative, I'm just saying, let's
It's important, that's important
let's be
information.
realistic, let's work with the facts. It was a 10-year design, it's a very good chance, the building is sound. If we get rid of all the regulatory violations that are presently exist and get rid of, fixing the HVAC may make it safe for the people that work in the building from a fire perspective. But there are dangers in that building now from the way they have to handle prisoners, because the building is so far out of standard practice that one lawsuit would cover your 1.6 million, if that was the number, and I don't quote me on that number either.
Yeah, is there any way to do, if this is gonna be, say, a 10-year fix, is there any way for you guys to figure out what the other costs might be over the 10 years? You know, like, what's the likelihood we'll need to replace the roof? What's the likelihood we'll need to do, other kind of more
Yeah.
than your
Just like
standard
the-
maintenance? Cause is the building, if it's 1.6 for 10 years, yeah, I think that's a pretty good investment, right? If it's 1.6 for 10 years plus 50,000 this year, 600,000 next year, you know what I mean?
No, it's a good point, but the architects are telling us that those other things have now finally been examined and incorporated into this estimate. That's not to say there won't be annual maintenance, but
Yeah.
they look carefully at the building for just the reasons you're describing, and it proved up to be a really sound, workable structure that, could be made to work within the bounds that we've asked them, to hit all those milestones that we set forth last year in terms of regulatory compliance and safety for the officers. But your point is well taken, but I believe I know I'm gonna be back here saying I need a new roof now. No, we asked that question and we got the answer that it was.
And septic, that's in good shape and.
Right.
yeah, the deep box just went through, but it has to be
But I think we all need to get on board with the notion that
passed as Title V.
buildings require maintenance and we need to be funding that every year.
Right, and we have.
No, we're not talking about
Yes.
annual maintenance, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, no, but I'm just, that,
yeah.
you gave me an opportunity to make a plug for that, so I took
Yeah.
it.
I have a couple of questions or maybe comments. So one is, the usage, the demand, I don't know what the right term is in police terms, but how often do we actually have prisoners or people that we have to put in a jail? How often have we, had to, how often has there been any safety problem with a person that needed to be in the police station for some reason? I'm just interested in the actual numbers that show what is our police
Is it-
station being used for.
22 a
And
month?
part of where I'm going with this is, have we compared what our police department does, the need that is, the demand on our police department, as compared to other small towns of this size? And are we finding that other small towns of our size are maintaining a full-scale police department? Or have you looked at, is there a way to share services that would change then the requirements for this existing building? Again, this is all
The
stuff.
answers to some of those questions we have already explored.
Uh-huh,
One is, how frequently is it used? The police do a real good job of keeping the work that they do out of the paper and not talked around.
So the answer is more often than
More
you
than
would
A
you
lot
expect.
more than you would
Expect.
think when I
Yes.
asked that question.
Yeah.
well, I think.
They have people in the jail typically weekly.
Well, that's just Nathan, actually.
Yeah, I know. You know,
I like it there.
But
We
you mean,
do not-
weekly, is that like typically the average is one person per week? Per
I
day?
have forgotten, it's not, this is not something we should talk with the TV cameras on, honestly. I mean, I'm all for open transparency.
As I recall,
but
it was an average of 22 a month, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what
ultimately,
I
the
recall.
percentages are the same, right? We're a small town.
Yeah.
But,
it is
Crime
not going
percentages.
unused.
yeah,
No,
right,
is
right. I
that
mean,
it-
we might not have the murders and the assaults or well, we might have some, but, armed robbery, right? But we don't have the major ones necessarily, but, kind of the lower end crimes, percentage-wise, I think we're just the same as everybody.
And then
else,
there's protective custody, a lot of cases of protective custody, and then there's
There are multiple cases of
of
child transfer,
transfers.
which has to be done in a very
Right. Careful.
prescribed manner.
Right.
Which, right now, we cannot do.
Well, we do it, but it's,
Well, we cannot do it in accordance with the state law.
yeah.
Could I provide something from a former mosquito report that might answer some of this too? One of the things Chief Fisher said last year when he did his presentation was that we don't currently have the facilities to do, Barney, what you were suggesting, which is share jobs.
With other towns.
Apparently you have to have certain things in place before other towns can make use of you or you can make use of them. And I'm not sure what those are, but we apparently don't have those types of facilities in place. And it involved the way cells are set up, and the way that, as Steve suggested, transfers have to be made so that we can't actually help out other towns. And we can't accept help from them on those bases.
I think, Barney, your question was, can we get help from other towns, not could we help them out?
Right,
And-
more the opposite,
Usually
right.
it's a mutual
It's a
agreement and
mutual
you have to have
thing,
something to
right.
trade and we don't have
Yeah,
something
we'll
to trade.
have the
Right.
trade.
Money
Unless
do
you wanna
take
pay the
prisoners.
other town
Although,
might
for
be
those
cheaper.
services. See,
yeah, right, the way we just did with the veterans agent, right, we've just joined
Right.
instead of paying for our own independent agent here. I, again, this is all part of looking, at a larger level about how Carlisle is managed and operates and whether we can, afford, is it sustainable, to have the number of individual departments that we have and for public safety. This just raises all that, right? And I know there's an immediate need as well. But it's part of the question of
Longer term.
longer term, right? And when are we gonna grapple with that, rather than doing the fixes that keep us going for 5 or 10 years, but.
Yeah, I mean, there is a portion of this that has to run in parallel, right? We can't just not do anything to the building that's falling down and all of a sudden poof, a new building is there, right? So
Right.
there is some sort of runway, I have no idea
Yeah.
what that is.
Right.
If this is Carlisle, so it's probably close to 10 years, right? But, what could it be, right? Could it possibly be done in 5? I mean, if we look at some of the surrounding towns that have done it, if we kind of expedite the process and push it along, could we do it in 5? And does that mean that you know, we don't do this,
You're not gonna do it in 5 years.
Hmm?
You're not gonna do it.
no, we're not gonna do it in 5 years, but
If we're not gonna do that, then you have to
I
spend
think
more
that
than just the.
This is the same thing, you know,
It's-
that this board, not most of the people on this board, but it's the same thing this board has been saying for the 5, 6 years that I've been on it, is we're not gonna do it in 5 years. But we've been talking about, what are we gonna do here?
had you acted, it would have been done by now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just a slack.
There's a saying I wanna use, but now we're televised, so I cannot, yeah.
What you might have found out you can't afford it.
Yeah, well, and you can never, but the thing is, you can never afford it, right? So, I mean, at some point, you just have to bite the bullet, right? And, you know, let's set up a working group.
That's an apt metaphor for the police station.
Pardon?
That's an apt metaphor for the police station biting the
Yes,
bullet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
All right, I'm gonna
okay,
move
yes,
that we,
do move.
that we put a placeholder on the warrant.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Abstentions? No? Okay. All right, it's on the warrant to be discussed more and more and more later. Sorry.
Well,
Was that interesting?
well, it is, and, you know, sort of the ironic thing, which is, of course, the same thing as you have with this building. And it's part of the fiscal reality that I think nicely the kitchen conversations seem to have people really being much more attuned to, is part of the reason that you have to deal with these types of decisions on the makeup repairs is because we were cheap 20 and 30 years ago. And the ironic thing is that the harder you've pushed the Municipal Facilities Committee, not you, but you're on behalf of the town, you're pushing them to repeat the same thing all over again with how cheap can we get it? And
That's right.
I'm not criticizing you, I say that's a painful irony in my view.
It is, but I think this particular building is like at a tipping point. And that's why the
Right, yeah.
municipal facilities
And I think that's precisely
Got
why I think we need to
bogged
just
down.
plan something long-term and solve the problem.
You want to bite the missile.
I do.
Yeah,
Because I think that, you know, we're gonna be having the same, you know, there's so much we need to put into DPW, so much, you know, into the fire station for space reasons and everything.
Really, the salt shed would be so much cheaper. Just go with that.
And I agree, Nathan, but we don't have to not do one while we do the other.
Right. Yeah. I think we kind of have to do one.
we
while
have to
do
do
it.
one, we have to
Yeah.
do the 5,
Yeah.
because I don't think it will happen before 5 years, and
Yeah.
we cannot let the thing,
But I think in the, you know, very early, we should set up that long-range
so,
public facilities committee to look at where we go with this.
So I just wanted, I think that we need to be very fair at town meeting. And it's not a warrant article, it's a warrant article for whatever that bread box is.
Right.
But the cost, we need to go back to the beginning.
Yep.
And not just pretend that $865,000
Yeah.
wasn't already appropriated. We are talking
No, no.
about 1.5 million. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm
I
more
fully agree
inclined
with
to
that,
say,
yeah.
is there any way we can pull back that other money and have a warrant article for $1.5 million and let the town really
People are
understand
smart.
what it
And-
is that they're voting for?
exactly, and that, as I said, is why the municipal facilities is coming with that, because they didn't want to make that decision and aren't in the position to make that decision.
Yeah, I think ultimately that 800 and some odd thousand would have to go away, right? If it fails, right? That 800 and some odd thousand isn't gonna sit.
Some
on-
of it's already
I mean,
spent, unfortunately, because, you know, and,
Well, yeah,
you know,
but, I mean, you have to
just
do some of the
saying.
prep work, right?
But you're right, that might be
Yeah.
the case.
And we are spending 240,000.
But at
Yeah,
that
yeah,
point,
right, yeah.
at that
Right,
point,
that would
we
have to be
definitely have to
voted
have
on
that
separate.
facilities committee,
Well, it's already gonna be
that
voted
new
separately.
facilities
Yeah.
committee,
Yeah.
not the municipal facilities committee, but a different sort of long-range plan, facilities committee has to then get up and running ASAP, because we cannot
With
let
this,
a
with
lot
that,
of,
with that particular charge.
with that charge.
Right.
Because, and that would really immediately,
What would it cost and where would we put it?
right, yeah. Okay, then there's the, a discussion of the possible fall 2020 town meeting.
Yeah.
There are a number of warrant articles. Well, we have been reviewing some of our bylaws and guidelines and things like that this past year. And so there's a bunch of them that we want to kind of revise and bring to town meeting. There've been some ideas, and the question is, you know, do we think this number of, warrant articles can be gotten through in a night or two, as it stands, or would it be better, to put off some of them, for instance, the marijuana one, and the ones that we, you know, it's kind of the town reorg, sort of questions, would that be better to be looked at in a fall town meeting? At which time also we were hoping that maybe Civic Moxie would have something to present, for instance, and we could be accepting their report at that town meeting as well.
So, this idea about possibly doing a special town meeting that is more bylaw focused than fiscally focused, is one that was discussed at our meeting, what was it, in early June, I believe. It was sort of after our marathon town meeting last year. We had this public discussion of, okay, was anything wrong, or do we want to do things differently, and so forth. And so in part, it was a response just to what was an overly long town meeting. And the idea of doing it that way is something that's done in some other towns. I think that my informal assessment, not scientific sense of it, is around the rest of the Commonwealth, is that it does tend to be larger towns that on a pretty regular basis would have a lot of zoning bylaw changes. So that they can fairly regularly count on, it makes sense to just devote the fall town meeting substantially to that. And then there's always other cleanup sort of things to do. I'm not sure that as a regular practice, Carlisle would need to do it, but it sure sounds like, as you described, what's potentially on the plate for this year. If there's ever a year to do it, this may well be the year. Because, yeah, you do have the marijuana one. You could, potentially, for the community center, that might be a possible warrant article to set up a study group. And by the way, I would even mention on that one, you could even commission ask the town meeting to establish that type of working group, even without it having to cost any money, right? You're looking at it as from a political perspective, it's less about the selectmen endorsing and saying, this is something that we think ought to happen, but instead you're saying, this is so fundamental a thing, we actually want the town meeting to decide that they at least want it studied in more detail. So even without money attached, that's a potential warrant article. And then this other committee that you've just been talking about. So sounds to me like it might be a good year to give it a try.
Yeah, and I think there might be more inclusionary bylaws that might be coming forward. I'm thinking about all the discussions people have about housing and types of housing, and so there should be more, in certain respects, some more zoning bylaws that start to be coming out of that. It won't be this year, but next year and the year after that, I'm assuming that people will start to pay a little more attention to that as well. But, so then we would shift, the marijuana bylaws and our personnel ones. Thank you.
Yeah, the planning board is very supportive of
the notion of a fall town meeting. I think they're feeling a little, they'd appreciate having the additional time
Yeah,
to develop those bylaws.
and I think it would be good for the town as well, if they had the extra time. So, and master plan, obviously is the big one, but marijuana, our personnel bylaw.
I mean, my concern is, of course, getting a
Wetlands.
quorum on a dull bylaw-oriented town meeting. However, marijuana might bring out the people.
Well, there's marijuana, but there's, I think more importantly, there's the master plan.
Well,
I think people will come out for
but-
that.
Well,
We may not
I mean,
be
the town
ready.
meeting isn't to hold a hearing, it's to,
Right.
No, it would be
you know,
to accept the master plan, but the people could learn about it as well.
Just put something on about Highland and everybody will
there you
come.
go.
Yes, we'll put
Yeah,
Highland on there,
that's right.
raise it to make a parking lot.
Or deer hunting,
Yeah, deer hunting's a good one.
dogs.
Yeah, we'll throw one in for deer hunting, that'll turn
I
around.
mean, I don't see any reason not to do it this year. We have enough stuff to do it that would bring people out, and I think it's probably a good idea. I wouldn't want to put it in a perpetuity at this point, but I think for a
Yeah,
one-shot
but-
deal, we can see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, do we need a motion for this, or, no?
No,
Okay,
it's
and
just,
then-
Which ones aren't.
know which
yet,
ones
right?
Need to
will
find a
just-
date.
put on this.
March 10th, by March 10th, you have to, we'll take them, you need to take those off, and
Right.
I'm not gonna be here, so.
Okay, I'll take off the ones I don't like then.
You take off the ones you don't like.
Way to do it.
Madam Chair, just
Yes.
while the moderator's here, I just wanted to bring up, and you probably saw in the draft warrant, the town council kind of was of two minds on how to handle the proposed appointed town clerk, and the change in the
Uh-huh.
moderator's term, and change
yes.
of selectmen to select board.
Yeah,
So
We'll
it's
take all
down
those
there,
out, too.
it's down there
twice.
It's in
right?
twice.
Yeah, that's, I noticed
Each
that.
of these are separate articles, or he took a shot at putting them all in one article. So it's
Uh-huh.
really the board's choice. It may be cleaner if they're voted on separately.
Well, do we
And
wanna
Wayne
put
might have
those
some
in-
thoughts about
In
that
the
as
fall,
well.
or do we wanna, I mean, the idea of putting them in the spring was so that by next,
Well, right, it wouldn't be effective, and, yeah,
they won't be effective if, if we do them in the fall, they won't be effective for another year, because then they have to go to the AG, and, would they be effective, you think, by
I think
March?
the town
Well,
clerk,
is the town clerk is a home rule petition, so that needs to go to the
it
general.
needs to go to the
Yeah.
town.
Which could take longer than a
Yeah,
year
that would take,
anyway. Even if you did it in the spring, there's no guarantee that you would have it in place.
So
I
maybe-
think,
I think
that's my
that-
understanding.
That's correct,
I think that we should keep that one in the spring.
yeah. I think with the change in term of the moderator, I think it just says it takes effect at the 2021 election, so it wouldn't really matter what town meeting you did it
It
at,
wouldn't,
but,
no, but I mean,
I think
there's
it
a
makes
better
sense to
chance that it would
do
be
it now.
done
yeah.
for the next election when it would matter. If we
Right.
did it, clearly, it's not a given,
right.
but if we want a chance at it, then we would
But it-
want to do it in the
You
spring.
never know, you put that on in the spring, it may take an hour and a half of debate.
That's
It
right.
could be very controversial.
If the
For the
moderator lets you go that
moderator?
long.
So the moderator will just gavel them down, and we'll be done.
Yeah, he's gonna have to have his,
Well, the debate would be, is it 30 years or 20 years?
Yeah.
But it seems like they're distinct enough issues that they ought to be different.
Oh, I think it'd be separate articles.
Yeah.
Separate
Yes,
articles.
I think
Yeah.
they should be
All
separate.
right, I'll tell council that then.
yeah.
Especially the select board thing really has nothing to do with,
Yeah,
clerk
that's
or the
really, to
moderator,
me, that's
right.
a housekeeping thing almost, it's not even,
But that could get a lot of conversation.
I just want to bring up
Yeah,
something that
people
Wayne brought up, because, do we think it's worth putting an article on, asking the town about whether or not we should do a feasibility of a combined municipal, public utilities, municipal safety, whatever we want to call it, building? And get the town's input on that?
do we wanna do that you mean in the spring?
Or in the fall.
Or,
in the spring.
because,
In the spring.
so you mean,
Uh,
well, we could, but I'm wondering if we wouldn't wanna do that after the report from, do we
The
think it's,
master
the
plan.
master plan, do
Yeah.
you think it's kind of jumping the gun? If we do it before, or do we just say,
I mean, is the master plan gonna change the fact that we need to put a lot of money into our buildings and maybe we need to rethink it?
No, you're right. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think, why not?
I don't know, I don't,
I don't think we're ready to argue that to the town at this point.
right.
Well, it's a study committee.
It's
as a
more that
study
we're-
group.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
well, you don't have to go to town meeting to set up a study committee.
So-
Right, yeah.
Well,
no.
well, so,
But his point was.
But I think Wayne's point was a
Yeah.
very good one, that,
Yeah,
you know, it's not us making the decision again, it's a legislative body,
yeah,
you
you're
know.
getting a sense
they-
of the town's
All right,
interest,
well,
so,
yeah.
yeah, so this is kind of a subtle thing. There have been times when this board couldn't, or I should say, previous iterations, not this particular collection of five, but Luke and Nathan know who I'm talking about. Various iterations of this board where you sort of, you couldn't come to consensus, you couldn't decide and say, well, let town meeting decide, where really it was sort of critical decisions that the town meeting really needed your judgment, and sometimes there are some difficult things for town meeting to decide. I would put in that category the Chinese menu that the planning board presented on marijuana last year,
Yeah.
where the current chair asked me, what's your advice for this year? And I said, do your job, come to town meeting with your best professional judgment. You were elected to propose to the town what the right thing is, so figure it out. Don't try to do a survey and then try to satisfy with some survey. So I'm not a believer in that. I do think you need to do your job. This one, to me, is somewhat different, because what you're saying on the planning for the long-term thing is it's not, you're not asking town meeting really so much to make a difficult decision. It's you're actually bringing an issue to them so that they can start to fully engage on the decision-making that they're gonna have to proceed with for a couple of years. So to me, it's kind of a kickoff of a communal thinking process. And my personal opinion is that you've already got a running start on that with the master planning process. So my personal advice to you would be that if you wanted to do it, doing it in the fall, when you have the master planning stuff coming together, might fit very nicely.
To me, it fits more
yeah,
nicely
should be part of the master plan.
than before, because before, it's like, kind of, seems to come a
Jumping
little bit
ahead
out
a
of
little bit.
it does
Yeah.
feel like it kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the master plan, for one thing, if it were going to be, I'd much rather the master plan suggest it to us than we suggested it to the master plan, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know?
the one thing that jumped out at me in what you were saying is that, you know, we're potentially asking for $1 million for the police station. That's the same thing we did last year when we asked for $865,000 and we said that it's a 10-year plan. It sure would be nice if we're doing that and going to the money, going for that money to say, and this is what we're thinking.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is the committee, should we go forward, we want your input on going forward to this, just to show that we are thinking about that long-term plan, even though we haven't been. But, otherwise, we're just saying the same exact thing as last year, except for the price is twice as much. That's just what jumped out at me when you said that. I was like, whoa, it's showing that long-range vision while we're asking for the money.
Well, I think you sell it as this, this is a can that's been kicked for far too long, and we realize that, and now we just have to do something about it, right? And we don't have a property identified, we don't have, a building side, we don't have any information, right? Do we want to go with something? I mean, because it's gonna be like the community center, hey, it's a great idea, until you see it's $35 million, which I know it won't be that, but then everyone, whoa, hold on a second, I mean,
But what
it's,
you would know is, if the town said, no, we don't want you to do it, we know, don't even bother, right? Because we're not gonna get the money in the long term. It's what they did with the Retcom, right? Retcom was a warrant article for the feasibility study, right?
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago,
Oh, for the,
For the community
Yeah.
I'm
center.
sorry, it's community
Yeah.
center.
Yeah,
yeah, but there's an actual ask there,
Yeah, there's money
right? There was a
involved.
money ask, right? I mean, we're not asking for money, you know, I think there's more value if you go and you actually have something to present, right? I mean, because it's gonna be one of the, well, where are you gonna put it? Well, we don't know yet. You know, and how big is it gonna be? Well, we don't know yet. You know, I mean, and not that you need to have all those specifics, but almost something along
Create
these
the
lines.
committee and get some of the work done and then bring it.
Yeah, Yeah.
So, and we don't need to go to town meeting to do that. We in fact, maybe need to start a working group now.
Yeah.
Start getting all that stuff, so that in the fall, maybe we then would have some information.
right, exactly, and you do a presentation.
And then we could go and ask.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay, and then so what sort of composition, certainly the chief?
The chiefs, yeah.
The chiefs,
Yeah.
sitting over there, would have to be involved,
Yeah, and Gary.
and Gary.
Mhm.
We're not talking about we're just talking
And-
about,
And the town
Public
administrator.
safety.
because-
And the-
because-
well,
because
obviously.
Town hall might be part of that,
right.
We can create the committee later and
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and the new school.
we're gonna build a new school.
No, we're building a new school, and then we're taking over that building for the DPW and the two fire and safety departments.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm just trying to think of the roadmap. So, the roadmap is, we do not put an article on this spring town meeting. We may bring an article to the fall town meeting for this. In the meantime, we're gonna start a committee up
Putting together.
and putting together a group in order to get some information so that we're ready to put something hopefully on the fall town meeting. Okay.
So
And
one
we will
last.
have a fall town meeting.
One last thing I would ask, just so that the town administrator and I can start looking at calendars, and also probably be important for planning board and other boards and committees, just to get a sense of a timing for a fall town meeting.
Late fall, I would say, we're not, we're
October.
not talking September for sure.
When did we do the tower?
October,
I
wasn't it?
think it's October.
October.
That's pretty late, right?
Well, early
Well,
October.
you wanna stay
Well,
away
we-
from
you
bad
want-
I
weather.
don't know,
Yeah.
You want to stay away from bad weather and Thanksgiving, but it seems to me you could do the first week of November. Or
Maybe
as late
after the-
as,
After the general election.
Maybe after the election.
Yeah,
oh, that's right, after the election.
maybe the
There's
second
something
week,
happening
the
the first
second
week.
week in
Okay,
November.
okay, I was
Maybe.
forgetting,
Yeah.
I was forgetting about the election,
Yeah,
I was
go
just
through the
thinking in
election.
terms of.
Go through with the
weeks.
election.
Okay, so, but the third week of November, the fourth week of November is Thanksgiving, so so that gives you the second week, probably not the third week. Or maybe the last week, and well, then you've got Halloween in October. and the
Yeah,
last
what about mid-October? I mean, when was the vote for Woodward and all of that stuff? That was like the 23rd-ish, right, wasn't it? It was like late-ish
It
October,
was, sort of mid-October.
mid-October, yeah. Because there's Columbus Day, but like, that's it.
Well, that
Whatever they
one
call
was
it.
driven by the 120-day
Yeah, it was,
period.
right.
No, but it was a good time. I mean, we still
Right.
had,
Right, no, well, the issue here is that, you want, any boards and committees that are bringing things to town meeting, for the fall, if it's too early, then they have to, they're getting a lot of work done over the summer.
Right.
Maybe have to scramble. And so I'd be reluctant to go too early in October.
yeah, I mean, the only thing is,
26th October.
26th of October, down in Woodward.
yeah, see, but the
You have
thing
a
is,
5-year
like,
calendar?
other than
That's this year.
Oh,
the wetland bylaw, most of these
well, you're talking about.
expected to be ready for this town meeting,
This fall
Yeah.
town meeting.
right?
Oh,
So,
so
in
you
that-
think we should do it on the
in that
26th of-
event, you may be
yeah,
fine, so.
yeah, so I mean, it should just be that most of these are almost ready to go, right? At this point, right? If they're expecting to be on spring, right? Other than the wetland bylaw,
The wetland wasn't ready, yeah.
No, they're not
Well,
ready, but I
And
think,
I think they're working really hard on the planning, but I don't think they're ready to go.
No, they
No,
said
no.
that when they came and spoke. to
right,
us.
but I mean, if we buy them another 6 months, I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
significant.
So what about the 26th of October? That's a Monday.
Or the week before the 19th.
I can't imagine that I know
Columbus
I'm doing anything conflicting.
Columbus Day's the 12th.
I'm not planning to go to China, so.
Yeah.
How about Tasmania?
Yeah. Like not to be
And
going.
the election's on, the first Tuesday in November, right, the 3rd?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that kind of,
That's a week
it
before the
avoids
election.
all
The
of that.
19th to the 26th would work.
And
And
the
when would
26th
we-
gives us an extra
When
week,
would
so
we
that's.
close the warrant article? Sometime in, the warrant, sometime in September, early September?
Yeah, yeah. You'd want a good month before the town meeting, I'd say.
Yeah.
It would be nice to set a date, at least tentatively, so that we could tell people, so that they would know where they're gonna shoot. 26th of October is the last week of October, and doesn't interfere with Halloween, which is a whole week later, or is Saturday.
Unless somebody decides to move Halloween again. Not gonna say who, not gonna say who, but
It's a Saturday. It's a
Great idea, let's move it.
The 31st is a Saturday, so this should be fine.
Have you been here, what, a week?
Okay.
Yeah, I've been here a year and a half, day one.
Was my dog's-
9 years ago.
You had certain advantages, Brian.
yeah.
Okay, I'm putting it in my calendar. Fall town meeting.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll wait until a couple of weeks before. I'm just kidding.
This way I won't schedule any trips over it. Okay, fall town meeting, 26th of October.
And
And
so
we
what
will
we,
let everybody know.
so what we've decided then is Articles 19, 20, 21,
And
29, 30, and 31 are, well, 19. Well, first of all, before we go to 19, 18, that's not happening, right?
Just a second. 18 is
18
join the
mosquito
Iddles
control district.
mosquito. Well,
Well, that's on the agenda tonight.
that's on
right?
the agenda tonight.
Okay.
That's coming up.
All right, so we can skip that then.
No, I thought it was.
I thought it was too.
Well,
It was.
yeah, the mosquito thing, isn't that something that we need to know
Because
for
it's
this
in
year?
here. There's a recommendation.
Yeah,
If you want a quorum, if you want to be short of a quorum in October, you could move that to.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna fail miserably, but do we
Oh.
want it to fail miserably in the spring or in the fall?
Well, are we putting it on? I thought
Yeah.
the Board of
yeah,
Health,
that's a good
the
question.
Board of Health was going to talk about it. They,
We
did
have
vote.
here, we have
Okay.
at the back of section 4, we have their request.
They reduced the
what's it
request.
saying?
Yeah,
Unanimously
1,000
voted to recommend that we
60.
join the program and that we just do the expense of, the surveillance, adult mosquito surveillance program.
I haven't heard a
Banding
single
the mosquitoes?
person speak in favor of
so
that.
rather than
I've even
spraying the
surveillance.
mosquitoes, we're
Studying.
watching them.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, oh,
Um,
my God.
for
For 10 grand.
$3,900.
Yeah, it's
This is to
expensive.
join it.
Yeah,
And is that at an annual fee,
yes.
the 6,700? And
Yeah.
the same thing with
Oh my
the
God.
surveillance,
Yep.
the 3,900, these are yearly charges, so 10,600 for 1 year.
Yeah,
Every year, yeah.
And what do we get for
And then
that?
that would be every
They
year.
say, yes, we have mosquitoes?
you
Well,
know,
they're saying that
Yeah, either way, yeah.
Well,
they
they
would
will
assess
test them
the
for-
risk based on what they find in terms of mosquito distribution density and species, the risk of getting a mosquito-borne virus, such as triple E or WNV.
I say let our neighbors test. If any of them get close enough, then we can set up a few tests and traps and send them to the lab ourselves.
But ultimately, what good does the testing do you if you have no remediation in place? You know, oh, it's here, yeah,
Well, it
okay.
might make
Well-
you decide to then pay for the have the conversation about. some
I guess, that's never gonna fly in Carlisle. I mean, you know, we are never, well, I don't wanna say never, but,
That's why it's failed in the past.
yeah,
Because people think that if you find them, and then they're gonna wanna spray, so they don't wanna
right,
find them.
Right.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
That is exactly the reason it's failed.
Right.
This one is not about the money.
No.
Right.
It's not at all.
No,
No.
right,
Right.
you're right. But it is about the money, because if we're never gonna do it anyway, why bother spending the money?
Well, exactly, that's exactly what I'm saying, why,
But also, why bother spending 2 hours at town meeting to talk about whether or not we're gonna spend $10,600 to study?
exactly. Exactly.
Because
Why
even
did the
that's gonna
board-
be a long conversation.
Right.
Do we know why the Board of Health decided to do this?
No.
Because we've
Well, it's-
never,
it's their
we've never adopted
responsibility,
it
right?
before. But I mean, I'm just wondering why,
Because they got a
The last
presentation
years.
from a sales.
Yeah, no, it was just because, yeah, it was Triple E and there was something else last year, right?
Could
There was-
maybe, they're
So it was-
offering to talk to us, could
He's
maybe
not-
we
was
talk
not.
to them when we have the
What
joint
was-
meeting with
there was something
FinCom?
else I thought that was killing people.
That would be good,
Alan,
yeah.
What?
you would be the chair then, so would it be okay if in that meeting with, our joint meeting with FinCom, if they came in and
And that-
they told us why I mean, they're offering to come
Yeah.
in this
Okay.
letter.
And I think FinCom should weigh in as well.
Right.
And I'm getting the sense of this board that they are not in favor of this program.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
No, but it's the responsibility of the Board of Health to do it, right? I
Right.
mean, so if
Right.
we shoot it down,
we
they still
need to
did their
give them, we
duty,
need,
right?
need to hear from them why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not in
yeah.
favor of it, but I don't know why they
Right,
proposed
yeah.
it.
Right,
I'm
Why
not
are
in
they
favor
in-
of the
why are
spraying,
they
I
in
should say.
favor
I'm
of
not
it?
in favor of
Yeah.
the spraying.
Nobody's, yeah.
All right, so then we're cutting Article 19, which is marijuana. We're cutting 20,
The next
which is
three.
marijuana. Wow, we've just cut a lot of
Weeding.
marijuana. Oh, and a third one, 21 is marijuana. And we're cutting 29, which is select board. Oh, there's 2 here, I'm sorry.
Well, no, but
We're keeping
we're, no,
29 and 30,
they're in here twice.
We're
Because
Seven.
Tim was
taking out
saying,
33, which is,
So we're cutting 29 and 30, right?
no, we're keeping
No.
those. Keeping 29, 30, keeping 28, 29, and 30, and 33 is coming out because that was the one that combined the 3 of them.
Yeah, no, but the question is, are we going to do those 28, 29, and 30 at this town meeting or in the fall town meeting?
Okay.
Oh, I thought that we were
Is that what you're
doing, we were
asking?
gonna do the moderator and we were gonna do the town clerk, but we weren't gonna do the changing of the name. But it doesn't matter to me, I don't think it's gonna take long.
I would really,
I don't think they're gonna take long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that'll take long either.
I was just seeing it as
Okay, so
changing,
leave
changing the
those-
bylaw, so we were gonna
But the
leave it.
town clerk might take some time. That one might
Town
take,
clerk would.
And 31 we're
So-
taking out, right?
let's,
Yes,
31,
Scenic Road.
yes,
Fall.
definitely taking out.
And, you know, you don't,
And
this is not some, you know, regulatory restriction. You're sort of making a general how you're gonna divide things up, but, you know, you can still do anything you want in the spring, so if you want.
Yeah.
Right, but I think that's what we're trying to
Keep it
decide,
in.
like, let's not have it in if we're not gonna move it,
Yeah,
right?
for sure, yeah.
And so I think we're saying these are the ones we want, because we have, in 2 meetings, this has to be final.
yes.
Yep.
So 19, 20, 21,
Right,
and 31 are out.
19 is out, 20, 21, and
31.
And then it looks like,
31,
and then it looks like on your
and
list,
33,
33.
which is this,
33 is those,
that was all of
which
them
is
together.
all of them
Previous
together,
3
but so
articles.
Right.
that goes out.
Yeah.
What was the scenic
Should we
road,
just cut
31?
32 now, the paving?
Oh, the pay, no, we gotta move it so that we can shoot it down.
There you go.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll vote on it first, I think.
so are you gonna try, so, let's go back though to town clerk, because I'm worried that's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, the clerk will.
I'm worried about that one, so maybe we need to,
Well, the thing is though, should we move everything that's gonna be long-ish to the fall? I mean,
well,
yeah, we've gotta have some stuff in the spring.
I think if we want any chance of it having any impact, we should do it in the spring.
Yeah, I think the clerk should probably be in the spring.
Okay.
You know, and I'll just say again, what I said at the last meeting, which is I think we need to be very clear about what we're proposing and why, and then we need to get information out to people, and we need to make sure we understand what the current town clerk's position is and the past town clerk, and, you know, kind of do our best to make sure people coming into town meeting know why.
I agree.
And how people feel about it.
Yeah, because when did we do it last? It was only a couple of years ago.
Yep.
2 years ago.
Okay. All right. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
actually, real quick, for the fall town meeting, you know, do we want to have any sort of financial things on there? So, for example, we could do CPA in the fall, right? You know, do we want to have it so? No, I'm just asking because, you know, people will come and say, oh, you know, can we submit an application, right? But what do we want
Oh,
to?
could you do?
What do we
yeah.
want to open it
Oh,
up
could
to?
it-
Another round of
Yes.
funding.
Oh, I would love to see CPA again, but I wouldn't not do CPA this time and only.
No,
do-
no, 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 no,
Say
no,
the
no.
second
no, it's-
round.
The
it's-
second round, yes. I think
Yeah.
there would be times where CPA could, I'm just thinking of housing.
Yeah,
um,
well, right, no, and, I mean, you can call a special town meeting for, you know, CPA at any time, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
know.
kind of why we've always just held it in the spring, but do we want to open it up to more than just the bylaw stuff, right? Do we want to have
Uh-huh.
Yes.
people be able to
Well,
submit a warrant
In
article
fact,
for
I think the
something? or-
top thing said, you know,
Yeah, there are two financial.
financial stuff.
I think that would be a great question to ask the CPC, because it's doubling the work, right?
Yeah, people haven't been against it typically.
They wouldn't,
No,
I mean, so if it's open, like if the application, well, I guess we're not saying that we're always doing a fall town meeting, we're just doing it this
For
year,
this
we're gonna
one.
do it.
And I
Yeah.
think for this one, it would be really important to do it. Especially with the long-range plan and the housing issues. Okay. Would you gentlemen like to come up and, I'm gonna skip over, since we have two things at 8:45, we're gonna do number 6
Now,
before we do
The
number
first one, we
5.
don't really have anything, so we can skip that one anyway.
Okay,
Hey,
well,
guys,
it's the same draft as we had last
Yeah,
time.
yeah, we didn't really get any input, so.
Hi.
Hi. So we're here, I'll probably cover the one that we have first. The dispatcher vacancy, I think you got permission from you folks to run a hiring process. And Chief Soros and I did it together, ordered a test from IPMA, the largest supplier of dispatch tests in the country. Got a custom test, interviewed. He got spoiled because he thought like all candidates were this good. We had a really good candidate pool. And I wanted to warn him, this does not always happen to us. And really, we were in a unique position where we had to pick the best, really out of 3 people who were really top notch. And we settled on a woman named Heather Gracie. She is currently a dispatcher for actually the emergency medical dispatch service
that we
we
use.
subscribe to.
So we actually use her for our medical dispatching right now.
yeah,
So she's
she already
from
knows a
the
little bit.
Carlisle, and she's been aces.
Right, and so highly recommended from anybody we've talked to who, as well as our experience.
So, you know, how that would work is, you'd say, yes, pay for physical, so that's the last thing, but we have to have an offer from you folks at the hiring authority. Thank you. You folks as the hiring authority, so if you give us the thumbs up, we'll send her for a physical, and you know, she's a person in good health, so I imagine this is gonna sail right through. I feel like I'm on the PA here.
yeah, it's weird, because you don't normally hear it.
In any event, yeah, she grew up in Connecticut. She's got an associate's degree, and
Lives in Lowell, so close by and all that.
Good.
pretty
Sounds
happy with
terrific.
Great.
Fine.
I move we authorize her.
there's a motion here.
Wow.
Okay,
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Heather Gracie of Lowell, Massachusetts as full-time dispatcher for the town of Carlisle.
Second?
okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Beautiful.
Dynamite, thanks.
Thank you.
And the second is a part-time police officer that I'd like to hire at the police department. His name's Christopher Peach, person I worked with, has extensive experience, a little bit younger than I am. For a part-time police officer position. You know, here, the last 3 people we made offers to, the last 2 that you hired, we had a woman in the part-time academy. I think I shared with our police liaison, so both Luke and Kate are familiar with this, but the woman that you were really pulling for got a full-time job. I mean, all of our young, especially our young part-time candidates are solid candidates for full-time work. So we lost her, unfortunately, with our blessing. And she went off to be a full-time Winchester police officer. So we have a vacancy. This person I've known obviously for quite a while. He's got a lot of experience, calm, cool, collected. Troy, he works full-time for Carfax. He did 25 years at Nashua, then went to Carfax, so he works there full-time, lives right on the border. His son's a Nashua police officer, all his kids are grown. So I would ask you to please consider allowing me to hire him part-time with the same caveat. We need to send him for his physical. He's cleared all hurdles.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to appoint Christopher Peach of Nashua, New Hampshire as a part-time police officer for the town of Carlisle. I don't think we have to put in pending
Second.
physical, right?
Yeah.
That's just your call.
Yeah, second. Right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And my third thing I ask is the Personnel Board did authorize a 1 step up for the administrative assistant for the police department. I was really pulling for that 7, but we got a 5. And the only thing I'd ask is that she be allowed to stay at a 2 in her level, which she is currently a 2, based on her seniority. Sometimes people slide back. The only problem with her sliding back is then she would make
less.
well, no, a couple pennies more, like
Yeah, right,
3
yeah,
cents
so it's
more.
not even worth it. Yeah.
So, and that position's really important to us, and she's important as an individual. So I would ask you to allow us to keep her at grade 2. Please.
I move we
Well, and
authorize.
that's part of the budget process, right? And the,
Yeah, well, we can, it
I-
is, but I think the FinCom needs a recommendation from us. Does it, material, do you have her in, how do you have her in your budget right now? Does it change your budget?
It does not change my budget.
Okay,
It's like,
do you have her in
it's
as
such
a,
small money. It's
so,
like akin to a COLA. So even hiring, we're gonna hire the new police officer at a lower rate than the ones, we're talking a couple of bucks here and there. I don't know, this
I
raise
wasn't-
might take effect till July 1st.
right, I wasn't suggesting that we not, like, show that we approve,
Yeah.
approve it, but I don't think,
We
that,
don't.
there's nothing for us to move yet, because town meeting actually has to approve it, not us.
The money.
Right.
right,
Yeah.
yes, but.
Right, so we
the
can
thing
just
is
say,
that
hey, in
it's-
general, we approve this,
Right.
and then we would vote on it when we get to that.
The approval by the
Article.
Personnel Board was for a grade 5, step 1. So,
We would be
That's what
overriding
the
the
chief's
the
asking
personnel
for.
board.
some, flexibility on the step.
Yeah, but theirs is based solely on
That,
experience and whatnot. I mean, this is
the rule of
another,
the Personnel Board is anytime a position's
Yeah,
upgraded, it goes to
reset.
step 1. It resets
Yeah.
to step 1.
Yeah.
They don't make any
yeah.
determination beyond that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we may actually need to review that because I think that's happened a few times where
It's
people
come
have
up, yeah.
reset and they actually make almost the same or less.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
and I think that there are cases where people made less when the insurance rates went up.
Right,
That's right.
there's that too, yeah.
I think we're all
Yeah.
in agreement that this person should remain at step 2.
Okay, then I'll budget for that amount.
Okay.
Great.
Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next year.
No, did anybody have, did,
I didn't get any
missed that
comments
over
from
here.
anybody, so I didn't make any further changes.
Nathan, did you get
but-
this in,
Word?
I did
In
get it
Word?
in Word, I have not had a chance to look at it.
okay, so let's put it on another thing, but it,
Okay.
because we have now until the fall to do it.
Oh, the sick leave?
Yeah. But it's important, I mean, I
Yeah.
think, it really is important, it's an important benefit, I think, to the,
Yeah, well, it's a policy, it doesn't have to wait for town meeting action, whenever we,
you know,
We just
Yeah, we
We
decided.
can implement
Yes.
whenever we,
Yes.
meeting. Yep.
okay. And so, yeah, we
That
should
was
move
that.
along and do that, yeah.
Yes. Is that David Kwan?
We're done. Liaison report.
Liaison reports? Anybody?
Well, just, as liaison to the Council on Aging, I just want to go on record by saying that we're very sorry to be losing David Klein. He has been an
Yes.
absolutely terrific, head of that department, and, we will be hard pressed to replace him. But wish him the very, very best, and thank him for his service to the town of Carlisle.
Absolutely.
Aye,
I wanted to say that, we are looking at, I agree with that, and this is somewhat a different subject, but somewhat related. We were looking at, reorg at, in the land planning departments possibly, and I was struck by the, presentation for the, community center, that they talked about office space for Board of Health, COA, and Recreation. And to me, it makes all kinds of sense to have community services under one umbrella. And I'm wondering, if there were to be a reorg upstairs, the Board of Health kind of falls between the cracks, because they have a land use and then they have this community service function. And I'm wondering if this is time to also study this other model and split that office up, and possibly Linda would be the one to come to be the head of that community services to start with, and then work under that. I don't know. It's just, the thing is that we need to be looking at various options. And this is, again, an opportunity, because we have an opening. It's not, it gives us an opportunity that we might not have thought about had David not moved. So I guess the question is,
But, wait a second, I'm a little confused. Sorry. So,
what I'm saying is now maybe is also the time to be looking at consolidating the functions of Rec Commission, COA, and the part of the Board of Health that does public health and community outreach.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, they seem to have very different functions in certain aspects.
Well, not, they overlap on a lot of other stuff.
No, they overlap in some things, but, yeah, I think that's a little messier than it seems on the surface.
I think we have to look at the statutory requirements for Board of Health especially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
That seems like one that may not fit with the others, but.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, they have, they were talking about space over there, but that's not necessarily for somebody to go in and apply for a septic permit, right? That's,
No, in
That's
fact,
gonna be their-
that would be upstairs. That would still be with the land use.
Yeah.
right, but what are you gonna have,
functions.
one person here, one person there? I mean, it kind of, that's the thing. That would be more if we had a community health nurse maybe, or, I think that's what their idea of that function was, or if there is an emergency, right? They have a space there, but not an actual body.
I understand. So what I'm saying is, we need to look into this, because nothing can happen, and it doesn't necessarily work that well right now. So let's,
Let's look at, there's no reason not to look into it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's where we can maybe have some efficiencies, we ought to be looking for places to have those that may not fit.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
it
May or
doesn't,
may
it
not
doesn't,
fit, but if we don't
if
look at it,
We'll never find out.
right.
Yeah, yeah, it's just if we're talking about combining Board of Health planning and CONSCOM, right?
well, in
And then
fact, that
Board of
doesn't
Health.
really fit terribly well, necessarily. Because Board of Health has, emergency services, and they have public health nurses, which have nothing to do with land use planning. But then on the other hand, they have another function which has everything to do with land use planning. Because does it perk or not? So, question is, what are the statutory requirements of Board of Health? Can this Board of Health be split into two functions, because it's serving two functions, and could they be put in other
Yeah.
categories under different umbrellas?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'd have to know what the actual workload was in terms of, that function versus the land use function and,
It's worth looking into.
yeah, no, it's definitely worth looking at.
So then that begs the question, who looks into it and how and when? Because it should be, I still think, sooner rather than later, because I think whoever comes in as COA needs to know that there might be some shifting sands under their
Yeah,
feet.
well, I
you know,
think-
and-
I think we need to talk with Tim,
Okay,
to see how that would change the organization of town hall.
Yeah.
Both that one and the other one,
Yeah.
the planning board one.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't have a good understanding of how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
Not that I
Well,
wouldn't, I just don't have.
They're
an
just
understanding.
getting
yeah,
off
no,
the
no,
ground
the
to
same
look
boat,
at it
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the land use
But I
as
think
it is.
that,
And you would want to certainly talk with the COA board, because I know they've already advertised this thing in a couple of different places, the vacancy, so
Right.
that process, the train is starting to leave the station. They've asked me to advertise it on the
yeah, well, you
MMA
can't
website.
leave it vacant very long.
Right, so.
Yeah, who's actually in charge of that position?
Yeah, in fact,
That's it.
that's interesting.
Well, you.
Because
the
it's not the-
Selectmen, you appoint the COA board, so you're the hiring authority for the COA director as
Right.
well.
So,
but who-
so the board is not the one that should have been doing
No.
that. That's why I'm
Right.
asking these questions, because
Yeah, it's not their
I'd like to know,
responsibility.
yeah,
So it's not their responsibility to actually do the
They don't do the
outreach to
hiring,
identify a new,
right.
and hire a new,
No,
so
Well, I think that isn't-
how should it be done?
I guess I thought that they would do the outreach and interviews and things like that and bring
Well,
to
that
us
traditionally
their
they've been,
finalists and we
make
would
a
be the ones
recommendation.
that- Yeah,
To you, the hiring authority.
kind of like what we just did with Chief Fisher, right?
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's how David was hired. They recommended
Yeah, they do all the work and we take all the.
you as the authority.
Or blame, isn't
But
it?
so, all right, so then we need to, as Kate's saying, we need to have a conversation with the board that,
Yeah.
or if they have a interview committee or however
Yeah.
they're doing it, thinking about a possible, some kind of reorganization or consolidation or,
yeah.
Possibility of it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Not necessarily that it's a fait accompli, but
Right.
that they need to think that maybe things won't always be done the way they were, in the past, because we need to,
And it
Think
might
about it.
suggest that maybe you're looking for slightly different qualifications or experiences.
Right, yeah, we should, they should have come to have a conversation with us before. Yeah,
Posting it, yeah.
I think so.
yeah, just so we get on the same page, because, right, as Barney said, we may have,
It only happened in the past few days, so it's
yeah,
just.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so maybe we get them on the next
They-
agenda, just so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
In terms of what we're looking for.
Just have a short thing on the 10th.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk to them.
And
Who's even on that board?
Yeah, who's, is it
Vern-
Abba Singhal and?
Yes.
Vernon
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yeah.
uh,
It's a very active group.
Carrie.
Yeah. Oh, no, no, the amount that they do is,
I go to a lot
but
of
is
their
it,
meetings.
yeah, is it the Friends of, is it that?
No, the Friends
No,
are
it's an
different.
actual board,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
committee.
is Angie
The Friends
Burge
of is a
on it, or
different,
is she-
Friends of the fundraising group.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Donna
Council on
McMullen.
Aging, Ann Quentin, Walter
yeah.
Hickman, Verna Gilbert, Maxine Crowther, and James Robert Luoma,
Oh, my God,
Donna McMullen,
9 members.
and Jerome Lehrman.
Elsie
And then the
Jerry's
associates
Miller.
are John Valentine, Elizabeth Bojarski, and Carol Fiorentino.
It's a huge committee.
So is it Abba that's sort of spearheading the,
It's Verna
placing-
so
it's
far.
Verna.
I heard from
Okay.
Verna over the weekend. Yeah, they were pretty
Okay.
anxious to
yeah,
get going.
Oh, we definitely need to get somebody, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, and I mean, they can still, solicit, they're not planning on interviewing over the next couple of weeks, right?
No.
I mean, they can post it, but. And then ultimately too, should we have the personnel board look at it to make sure that it's,
With the job description, we haven't seen the,
They
you know.
did mention wanting to tweak if they make any changes to the job description, I told them that goes to the
yeah,
personnel
it
board.
has to.
And to us.
And to the
Yeah,
board,
yeah,
in case it's regraded, but,
Yeah.
Well, I think in any case, we'd want to see it because we're
Right.
the one hiring for it.
yes.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't necessarily wanna
I
slow the
guess I'm
process
not,
down. We just
I'm not
need
sure,
to-
what are we asking that board to look at the job description, because we may want to consolidate, or?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know what the job description even is.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, we
clear,
got
but what are we
But
going
did-
to them and asking them?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, to see if there are places that, you know, I mean, Linda can't because she doesn't have the bandwidth right now, but if she weren't doing the sanitation part, maybe she would have the bandwidth to do some of this stuff.
Yeah, but see, that's the,
I guess
don't
I'm
know.
not sure, just timing wise, like, I mean,
Yeah.
feels a little bit like we're throwing it up in the air and we don't really know where we want to end up.
Correct, we don't.
right.
No, because we haven't looked at it
Yeah.
yet, but I
Right.
do know that we're very siloed in this building, and we really need to be looking more at combining functions.
And I think we're taking,
and
you know,
trying
I
to-
think that one of those is happening with the land use boards, right? I
And
mean,
one of those
Right.
is,
It's
and
like,
it-
how
and
many
it-
do we want to take on?
well, I would say this is the other one, because there are only two, A, and B, there's
an opening.
there's an opening there, and
Yeah.
three, Board of Health might be disruptive as a result of the first one that we were undertaking to begin with anyway. So where would you put, you know, if it were to be broken up, if it could be broken up, I don't even know if it can, where would you put that other function? So it just seems like it's the time to do it, to be looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say what the message to the, COA board is just that, as they're starting to think about this, that we want to share our thinking with them about,
What kind of a skill set you,
yeah.
Yeah,
and
and
that-
and I'd like to hear what they think. the skill
Right.
set ought to
Yes,
be.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, I
Right,
agree.
and,
And this is an opportunity to make some changes, if changes need to be made.
yeah,
And what are they suggesting?
Right.
What are they looking
Right.
for? You know, because they're gonna have to come to us and explain why the candidate that they prefer meets those specifications.
Yep.
And so we'll, you know, we need to know what those are, hopefully in advance.
anything else on liaison reports?
I have a couple, if I may. So I did talk with Gary this week. He is still working on getting the list of permits and everything for
For the haulers?
for the haulers. So he's on that. It's just taking him longer than he thought it was going to. I wanted to give a shout out. So I'm the liaison to accounting, to the accountant. And, you know, I think that we're just so lucky to have Priscilla. And, you know, she brought us through so much last year and in previous years when there was other turnovers. And I just wanted to give a shout out to her because I know that, you know, she had a very, very stressful year last year. She's still trying to recover from that year. And she's still trying to catch up on everything. And she's just putting in a ton of hours. You know, I was talking to her and just, you know, she is so dedicated that just even trying to figure out a day when she can take a day off, she won't take the day off. If it's gonna impact anything here. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to her. I think she's awesome. I think she really carried us through a really, really rough year last year. You know, I hope that she can find the time to recover because I'd really, really hate to lose her if she burns out. And so I guess that's just kind of a public thank you.
Amen.
Not really a liaison report. Tim's committee, the IT committee, got together. We didn't have liaison reports, so I'm giving some pretty old ones here. We got together and kind of formally created a subgroup who are going to look into a phone system replacement. We have, I think there's 2 or 3 people. It's Raj,
RJ and David
Yeah.
Mackay?
RJ, David Mackay, are going to kind of take that and lead it and, you know, put together the other people from the other groups and we define like what the group should look like. You know, their goal, is going to be to try to, be ready for, 2 town meetings from now, which would be the spring. This is 3 from
This-
now.
Right.
So the spring of 2021 to be coming with the financial, request for a new phone system. Do you have anything you want to add, Tim?
No, just that, we met, this morning, Dave, RJ and myself, and they're really gung ho. I mean, they're, you know, great volunteers, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been through.
They'll burn them out,
Yeah, we'll ride them until they,
Yeah.
Have them
can't
talk
do
to the
anymore,
police
but yeah.
station. They went belly up on them in an emergency last week.
Yes,
really?
yes,
Um,
yes.
So that's all I have. I mean, I think that there's, you know, there are some things that we need to work with on the Municipal Facilities Committee and relationships with other departments. I've been talking to a couple of the departments. And I had a joint meeting with the chair of the Municipal Facilities Committee, Jerry, and Chief Sorrows. I think that there's definitely some things we need to work through there. That's it.
CPC, so we had 2 applications. One of them was the Greeno Dam. So this was the whole thing that came up last year. So Conscom is actually applying for a state grant. The grant can be up to $1 million, but it's not gonna cost that, but, one of the conditions of the grant is a match, a 25% match. So they've requested up to 250,000, for the match.
And that's state money, so we're gonna match the state with its own money.
Yeah, no, this is the best part of it, right? Yeah, so it ends up being, we would pay, 15% or something of the total cost,
Wait a minute,
right?
they got some money from us to begin
Yeah, I was
with.
gonna
Well, it's
say,
very true, right?
taxpayers here.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, the other one, there's an application from HISCOM to, remap, if you will, the historic district. That's a little, according to council, it's a little more sketchy, in terms of an application as being a good fit. Well, it's this whole thing, you can't, recreate history, you can't, there's really no restoration, rehabilitation, no, it doesn't fit neatly into the, right? So, I still have to have that conversation with council and with HISCOM. But, I don't know if that one's gonna move forward or not. There may be another way to do it with CPA funds, but it's not very clean.
What costs money in doing that?
It's, doing the, surveys and that sort of thing, and then also to, reprinting the map and there are images on the map.
Would they be
and-
putting it on GIS at least?
Probably not, no, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so it was a very blah application too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're supposed to get more detail. Usually what I do is I tell folks, look, just get something in as a placeholder so we have an idea. And that's what they did. It was really kind of placeholder.
There
Yeah.
might be one other thing though, Tim,
Well, applications
tower.
are,
The
yeah,
clock
no,
tower.
applications are,
I did,
Closed.
email you about that,
yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. It, applications ended 15th or something. So, I mean, if it's something that we can do in the fall, we'll do it in the fall.
I'm
Because
not
it's-
sure we can wait till the fall.
What is it?
It's the clock tower on the church, which is gonna fall to pieces if we don't, it's gonna fall down, possibly, if it doesn't get fixed, and it's ours.
But I thought, oh my God, have I been here
The
that long?
clock is ours.
I know that, I'm
Didn't we
just,
repair
wasn't
it?
saying
A
that.
Yes,
while?
it was
We-
repaired.
We repaired that, because we went through
We
that
did.
on HISCOM.
Yeah, it was CPA. It was
Yeah,
within the
we
past.
did, but it needs to
5 or
be
6
repaired
years,
again.
yeah, about $50,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it was significant
Repairs.
for the student. yeah.
Do we know why? I mean, what happened that it's not?
Well, is it different? Is it the same? I mean, I don't know.
The cradle that holds the clock,
Yeah, see, that wasn't part of the last one. It was really
Yeah.
just the steeple and the clock itself. and
Yeah.
the face.
contractor's having trouble getting physically where he needs to get to provide a complete estimate and scope of services, so that's why we don't.
That's exactly
have
what
that,
they
but
said last time around.
Luke said, yeah.
Yeah, but the guy.
It must be the same
guy.
Steeplechase, yeah.
The same contractor.
Steeplechase, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But no, I mean, so applications have closed, so I mean, if we open it up, I gotta open it up to everybody and,
Yeah.
Now you're at the point where you got grant agreements and all of that fun stuff, so,
well-
I mean, we could just put it on for the fall, I mean, if it breaks between now and the fall, shame on us, I guess, but,
How could it
like Paris.
possibly already be in that condition when we just?
right, yeah, well, that's
think if
another thing
5
too,
years ago
right?
they did a repair, they would have
Yeah.
noticed that this needed to be done.
Right.
I'm not sure, maybe they did, and it's been 5 years later.
Yeah. I don't know.
Repair.
I forget who did it, I think it was Brian, the first, I thought they were pretty thorough, so
Yeah.
maybe it's something different or new or. Yeah.
Different clock?
No,
No,
just a
it's the
different,
same clock.
Termites.
yeah, or termites or rain
ants.
got in or something wasn't, buttoned up correctly, I don't know.
Well, it's either that or the town budget pays for it.
Well, it's not on the warrant though. So I mean, that's the thing, it's, had the application come in, it wouldn't have been an issue, but,
When did the applications close?
January.
In January.
Yeah, the email went out in the end of November, as it always does.
Well, I don't think MFC got it.
I don't know, it goes to Jen's gigantic mailing list, so.
Yeah, okay.
So it would have come to the Board of Selectmen, it would have come to pretty much everybody on facilities.
Yeah.
Did the
The
first
chairs,
selectmen
the
actually
chairs
see
of all the
this?
committees get it.
That was in the mosquito too.
Yeah, it's in the mosquito.
We saw it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right,
JG
well,
says he can't get up, I think he might have gotten up there today to see it.
Really, yeah.
Not that easy, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? So I mean, it'd be, the thing is now though, get the estimate, get the complete,
Find out what's
Right.
wrong.
right, exactly, find out exactly what's wrong, get the full estimate, it's always, you gotta get a couple of bids, but obviously if no other steeplechase is gonna do it, then, right, but, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mean to sound like a hard ass. It's just, it's the process, and the thing is, if I open it up, then I gotta open it up to everybody, it's not.
they did a beautiful job.
Yeah.
So, not fair to the.
And I assume if this, if somebody's looking at it right now, they're
Yes.
trying to,
Yeah.
I assume if they come back and say, well, this is really an
If it needs to be an emergency
condition,
repair,
Then we'll just
you could do it,
revisit it.
reserve fund
Yeah.
or something, just,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, wait for the next round, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, we have minutes, right?
Oh,
No, we
minutes.
don't have minutes.
No, I do.
there was a
They just
set.
came out tonight. I haven't read them yet.
Oh, I read them for nothing just now? Okay. All right, well, Kate, have a night, well, we haven't
Thank you.
closed the meeting yet, have we?
Well, no, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Fun in Tasmania.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Going
everybody.
sailing.
Say hi to the
I have
devil for me.
2